In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to do a deadlift. Now the equipment you need is a barbell, weights to put on the end, and a nice bit of floor space. Notice that I've used these big bumper plates to set up with. Definitely do not use the little ones because a deadlift requires good mobility, and by using the small plates it puts pressure on your lower back. Now, before we jump on the barbell, I just want to show you a few things before starting. So, a deadlift is comprised of a few elements. First of all, in order to get the bar off the ground, you don't want to think about pulling. Instead, you want to think about generating as much force as possible through the ground. It's when you push the ground away that the bar is going to come up. So the first part of the movement is getting a nice strong stance, gripping the bar and thinking about pushing the floor away. That's going to bring the barbell up. Once you've got the barbell off the floor and above your knee, the movement turns into a hip hinge. Now, if you haven't done a hip hinge before, I'm going to show you how to do it with a kettlebell in a second. If you have, follow along and you'll understand. So we've got the barbell, it's above our knees. We're then going to hinge at the hip. And what we're going to do here is squeeze our glutes as hard as we can. This is going to make our hip extend and it's going to bring the bar upwards. So, as I said, I'm just going to take that onto a kettlebell and show you exactly. What we want to think about when hinging the hip is that someone's tied a bit of string to our bum and they're pulling it backwards, or you're trying to touch your bum on the wall over there. So, first of all, we're going to get a nice stance, grab the kettlebell like so, and think about keeping a straight back, which means you've got a neutral spine, and pushing your bum backwards. Don't think about leaning forwards because it's going to promote your spine to do this, which is exactly the opposite from what we want. So, grab your kettlebell, push your bum backwards, and then when you're in this position, you want to think about squeezing your glutes as hard as you can, which is going to make your hips extend, and it's going to use momentum to drive this kettlebell upwards. Okay, so we're in this position, I'm going to squeeze my glute, and it's going to drive that kettlebell upwards. Down here, squeeze the glute, propels that up. So, you want to master that movement, and then move it onto the barbell. I'm blowing! Right. Next up, we're going to move over onto the bar. When we're doing a deadlift, in order to do this as safe as we can, we want to keep the bar as close to our body as possible. And I'm going to use the analogy I used for the squat again, so if you haven't seen that, go back, watch the video, and you'll understand more. Basically, every lift that we do, we want to keep our spine at neutral. This is when our spine is at its strongest. And as I said with the Lego blocks, if you're going to build a tower as strong as possible, you want to stack the Lego exactly on top of each other. And that's exactly what we want to replicate with this movement. So, before we get underneath the bar, we want to sort our stance out. As I said, the first part of this movement is pushing through the floor to generate the power to get the bar off the ground. Now, how we're going to decipher where our stance is by doing a jump squat. You wouldn't do a jump squat and try and generate the most power from here, and you wouldn't do it here. So when we're doing a deadlift, we want to sort our stance by doing a jump squat where we create as much momentum and power as possible. So, I'm just going to do a squat, jump up into the air, and where I land is pretty much a good stance for me to transfer over onto the bar. So we're stood at the bar, with the bar over the middle of our foot in order to keep the bar as close to our body as possible. Next up, we need to talk about grip. There's a couple of options here for you. You can go double overhand, which means you're going to grab the bar like so, or if that doesn't give you a good enough grip, you can opt for a mixed one. So, one underhand, one overhand. I would actually say try and do it double overhand if you can because it promotes symmetry throughout the lift, but feel free to do a mixed grasp, but make sure you change it up all the time. So, I'm going to go for a double overhand with this one, and we're going to grab the bar just outside shoulder width. Once I've got a nice strong grip on the bar, we need to retract our shoulders. Now, you'll hear a lot of people say, think about snapping the bar in half. What this does is it pins your shoulders back and squeezes your shoulder blades, and it promotes you to keep a neutral spine. If that isn't a good enough coaching cue for you, thinking about snapping the bar in half, what I tend to tell a lot of my clients is, think about rolling your shoulders backwards. When you get to the point where you feel like your shoulders are the most squeezed, remember how that feels and transfer that onto the bar. So, we're going to grab the bar with a double overhand, retract our shoulders nice and tight so it pins them in like this. Next up, you want to squat down as low as you can so you get a neutral spine. What you'll see here is my shoulder is over the bar, my hips are under my shoulder, and my spine is nice and neutral. From here, we're going to start the lift. So, think about pushing through the floor as hard as you can. Push the floor away and it will bring the bar up. Now, we've already spoken about this lift in the fact that it's pushing away and then squeezing at the glutes in order to bring the bar further up. So the first part of the movement is bringing it above your knee. Once you get it above your knee, we're going to squeeze the glutes as hard as we can and extend the hip. That will bring the bar up. So that's the upper part of the movement. Now I'm going to talk to you about the downward part. So, once we've got the bar up here, we want to get the bar down to the floor in a straight line. Thinking of that, we don't want to be bending our knees before it's gone past our knee. So, let me show you. This is a quite lightweight, so I'm not going to hurt myself doing so, but if I was to lower this bar to the ground, bending my knees first, it moves the bar away from my body, and that promotes me to flex my spine like that, which is not good. So, what you want to think of when you're doing the return bit of the deadlift is lowering it, with your shoulders pinned back and flat back, until it gets to below your knee, and then we can bend the knee to return it to the floor. And that is how you return it down safely. Another thing I want to say is this is a deadlift. I see so many people in the gym bouncing the bar off the floor, which is not a deadlift, so I'm just going to show you now. Pin the shoulders back, sit down, bring it up. So, this is what I see a lot of people doing. What I want to promote you to do is lower that down till it's below the knee, and we can bend to put it down, reset, put our shoulders back, push away through the floor and bring it back up. And as I say, that reverse movement is exactly the same as the upward one. Another thing to mention with this lift is you don't want to look up or down. You want to keep your eye line the same as your torso. So as your torso moves up, move your line of vision up with you. Don't look up because it will promote extension. Don't look down because it will promote flexion of your spine. And as I keep saying, we want to keep a neutral one. Now I've talked you through the deadlift in detail, I just want to run you through a quick recap of that. So, first of all, starting with your stance, we want to pick something that's going to generate the most power. The way I tell my clients to do this is by doing a jump squat. Once you've found a good position for the start of your lift, we're going to roll the bar into the foot. Remember, we want to keep the bar as close to our body as possible throughout this whole movement, but don't start it too close so you smash your shins into the bar. So, bar over the middle of the foot. Next up, we're going to decide our grip. So you can either go double overhand or mixed grip. I'm going to offer double overhand, but you can do whatever you want. Just make sure you switch it up. So next up, we're going to set our shoulders. Again, the cue people use is snapping the bar in half. This externally rotates the arm and pins your shoulders back, but what I like to say is roll your shoulders back until they're pinching the most. Remember that and then transfer that to the bar. So we're going to take a grip just outside your knees, pin your shoulders back and sit into the movement until you've got a neutral spine. This is where mobility comes in. So remember I said make sure you set up with the big bumper plates. If you put the small ones on, it's going to make it harder to sit into that movement and get a flat back. If you're still struggling with this, feel free to raise the level of the bar by putting something underneath it. So, we're sat into the bottom of our deadlift, shoulders are pinned back, and we're going to push through the floor until the bar's above our knee, and then we're going to recruit our glutes, squeeze them as hard as we can to bring the bar the rest of the way up. So, sat into it, our shoulders are above the bar, our hips are below our shoulders, we've got a flat back, neutral spine. I'm going to push through the floor till it gets to my knees and then squeeze my glutes. So push, squeeze. At the top of the movement, we want to keep the bar as close to us as possible. So roll the bar down until it gets to your knee, and then you can bend your leg to return it to the ground. And that is how you deadlift properly. I'm actually blowing after doing that, so hopefully that has recapped that for you, and you can deadlift properly and safely. Tips.